Good evening and welcome to Election Central here at hashtag KTVB. We're coming to you live on Facebook Live on our KTVB account. Welcome on in, and the best thing I think I can say right now is settle in. Settle in. It's going to be a long night.
I think it's going to be a long night too. You and I have been talking about this for weeks now. It's the Super Bowl of politics, if you will.
It is.
A very contested race in the city of Boise when it comes to the office of mayor. It's been a long time since we've had a race this close with this many candidates, formidable candidates running for the office of mayor, of course, for Idaho's capital city. And then in the second largest city of the Gem State, Meridian, we will have a new mayor there tonight, as Tammy DeVeerd announced earlier this year she would be retiring from that position.
And isn't it interesting? Dave Beater first got the job in a very hotly contested mayoral race with Chuck Winder and also former Ada County Sheriff Vaughn Killeen, just barely snuck by 16 years ago, really has flown through ever since. Same thing with Mayor Tammy DeVeerd. So is there going to be a changing of the guard in both of Idaho's largest cities? We know there will be in Meridian.
We know there will be in Meridian.
Will there be in Boise? And with that answer, you're going to have to wait till about midnight. But
we think. We're predicting. We're projecting.
But our Joe Paris is over at the big screen right now, cranking the numbers for us. And those numbers are starting to come in. And you raised your eyebrows at what you saw, Joe?
I did, and these are preliminary numbers that are coming in right now. Actually, we'll have the crew in the back take this image full screen. We'll explain what you're looking at here. These are the Ada County early returns that we're seeing right now. So if you had a mail-in ballot, these are counted in. The ones that have actually been cast at the polls are not counted most likely in these yet. We can see here about 5,600 in early voting, about 2,500 from absentee mail, 6.3% of the turnout. So we're talking about the Boise mayor's race. I'm going to zoom in for you right here. This is Lauren McLean, in the lead here over Mayor Beater. Now, it's a very narrow, about 500 vote margin, but you can see here, these are the early returns, 6.3% turnout. We have Laura McLean up on Dave Beater early. This is data that came in about 5 minutes ago from Ada County. We're looking here that you can see precinct by precinct. We're seeing Laura McLean in the blue as she has taken a slight lead. And we're going to be following this in detail for you here tonight. You'll be able to see here, for example, precinct 1902. We can see exactly how everything was coming in on that vote today in terms of the mail-in ballots. That's what we have in right now. Of course, at KTVB.com, we have all of your election results, and we will be following them live here tonight. These are the up-to-the-date moments on KTVB.com/elections. Again, you can see McLean is up 43% to 36%. Again, this is just the preliminary returns, but you can see here the McLean-Beater race will be keeping a very close eye on. We're already getting questions on what could possibly happen if those two are so tight. Will we have a runoff? In the city of Boise, here's what you need to know tonight. For someone to become the mayor-elect tonight or early tomorrow, they have to win 50% of the vote +1. And when you have a crowded field like this, especially two very competitive candidates that we're seeing out of the early going here with McLean and Beater, you can see here it's going to be extremely difficult to get 50% of the vote +1. So we'll be keeping an eye on this. If no candidate is able to do so, this will go to a runoff. We would have a month from today, December 3rd, it would be the top two candidates. Kim, Mark, we're keeping a very close eye on all the action tonight. Yes.
You know what? We're hungry. We need numbers. Feed us. Let's get right to the props.
Let's go right to it. Okay, we'll start with the Boise mayor again. We can see here. Let's actually update this so we can get the latest information. KTVB.com/elections. Didn't change, but McLean, a narrow lead over Dave Beater. You can see Rebecca Arnold there. Third place in the Boise mayor race. City Council seat 1, you can see Patrick Bajent. He is up early in that race. City Council seat 3, we have Meredith Stead and Jimmy Halliburton. They are very close there. Stead with the early edge. Again, the results you're seeing right now, these are the mail-in and the early voting ballots that were counted. We know those get counted first and they're available out first. So this is the data we're looking at. City Council seat 5, Elaine Clegg. She's comfortably in the lead there. She is the incumbent. Something we're talking about tonight tonight, the Boise propositions. We have no information coming in on those just yet, so we'll get back to that later. Another big storyline tonight, Meridian Mayor Robert Simison, who is actually the chief of staff for Mayor Tammy as she is retired, so we're looking for her replacement now. Her chief of staff in the lead here, out comfortably, 49% to 29%. Joe Palmer, state legislator. A lot of people will recognize Palmer's name. He is right on Simison's tail.
Simison really hitting the streets in the last couple of days after getting that Mayor Tammy to endorse him just a couple of weeks ago, and so that has been a very, very active politician.
You know, Mark, I forgot to mention this right off the top. Our broadcast tonight, fully interactive. If you're here with us on Facebook or YouTube, you can leave us a comment or a question or let us know where you're watching from tonight. Again, we're live on Facebook, on YouTube, on KTVB.com. You can tweet at us, you can Facebook at us. We're going to have a fully involved conversation tonight here live in the studio, and we'll be following this all night long. Of course, you're tuned into special coverage right now, but News at 10, of course, that'll air regularly as scheduled, 10 p.m. right on 7. But Mark, we'll be keeping a close eye on here in the meantime.
I was listening a little bit earlier to some of what Phil McGrain had to say, the Ada County clerk, talking about he equates elections to wedding planning. And that this is perhaps the biggest event planning of this for the state,
right.
And expecting tens of thousands of guests to turn out, if you will. I had 75 people at my wedding, but it is a well-orchestrated event that, of course, the elections offices and throughout all the counties in Idaho have been planning for months. Joe, can we talk a little bit? It's so early, but a lot of people are saying this race, in particular for Boise mayor, is really going to come down to the wire. Can you talk a little bit about what a runoff would look like and when it would happen and where it would happen? Would we go to the same precincts, to the same polling locations?
Yeah, basically what would happen today, we would basically just have a rerun of it a month from today on December 3rd. And actually, I can pull up a special presentation we worked on earlier today, and we can really explain the situation. We're here in Boise, and actually the folks in Eagle who are voting for the Eagle mayor race are actually in the same boat. And if our crew in the back can actually take a full screen of this right now. This is the runoff policy that we are keeping an eye on for you here tonight. Now, you can see Eagle in Boise. Oh, good.
More. So obviously this is something that each city decides, right?
Yes.
This isn't a statewide. So for those of you new to the state, it's not a statewide law
Correct.
that all cities will have a runoff. It's up to each individual.
And as you found out earlier today, the city actually had a runoff in the city council back in 2003 when David Eberly defeated Paula Forney in something that cost the city $70,000 for a city council race. He was so disenfranchised and disenchanted with that they eliminated the runoff for city council, but not for the mayor's
right.
race.
So
Right.
I mean, even
Yeah, I
within the
jumped the
city
gun
of Boise.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's city to city. It's a good point because our friends over in the Meridian area who also have a mayor's election tonight, they're likely going to have their mayor-elect as soon as the votes come in. Now, unless there was a dead tie, then there's a tie-breaking policy. But in terms of a runoff, the folks in Boise and Eagle are in the same boat here today. And again, what we're looking at now, as you can see in Eagle and in Boise, you need 50% plus 1 to win that race. Now, the question is, what happens in Boise and Eagle if that doesn't happen tonight? Well, then we have a runoff. And this is, I mean, as a fan of politics, you would say this is exciting. But here's what we'll show you. If you do not get 50 plus 1, you'll have a runoff. You'll have the top 2 candidates from Eagle and the top 2 candidates from Boise on December 3rd. They will meet up, Kim, and then they will basically do what we're doing tonight all over again. Now, the point that Mark was making, and he and I talked about this earlier, these can be very expensive. And if there is a runoff, that's going to be paid for by the taxpayers. So, you know, if we're in the neighborhood of an $100,000 price tag to do this again a month from now, that's going to be on the taxpayers, Kim.
And the turnout, too, as we were talking, that's the holiday season. A lot of folks are out of town. Typically, runoffs see only a fraction of the turnout that we'll have even on a non-election year, on an off-election year.
All right, we appreciate all of our Facebook viewers watching us right now. As Joe mentioned, we want this to be very interactive. We want you to submit your questions. So, Joe, here's one for you. Okay. Alyssa wants to know what Star and Eagles results so far.
Okay, very good. Well, as you can see here on KTVB.com, you can go right to the races that you care about most. You don't even have to read through the races that are not in your area. And again, we'll recap these. And the disclaimer is these are the early numbers that are just coming in, so most likely the numbers reflected here are the mail-in ballots and the early ballots. So if you're in that boat, here's what it looks like. The Eagle mayor race, Jason Pierce ahead of Stan Ridgway. Of course, Stan Ridgway is the incumbent mayor in this race. At 784 votes, Jason Pierce polling at 57%. If we look down here at Eagle City Council, you can see the results there. We can see that Brad Pike is out in front of Eagle City Council. And
remember, we were talking about this, $90,000 was raised by the campaigns in both the City Council in Eagle and the mayoral races, breaking what we all pretty much know is a record for campaign financing.
Oh man, the amount of money that was put into these races across the Treasure Valley it's really a sign of the times. It really shows just how much the Treasure Valley is growing, because when you talk about just how much money, I mean, money talks, and the more important the races are, the more money they're going to generate. And when you talk about importance, you can really talk about what people have decided is important. The people of Boise have spoken with their dollars, and the people of Eagle have spoken with their dollars in terms of campaign contributions. And to finish off the answer to this question, let's go over to Star real quickly. I know our viewer was asking about Star, and I misclicked on that. That's going to be in the Canyon County section. You can see here we have Caldwell City Council we're taking a look
John
at.
McGee, that's an interesting thing right there.
Actually, let's highlight this right now.
Yep.
Mark, you've got a little more of the history here.
Well, John McGee is running for City Council in Caldwell. Of course, he resigned his leadership position at the Idaho State Senate back in 2012 amid accusations of misconduct, and really has been out of politics pretty much since then, but wants to get back in. And obviously those folks right now that have given him 194 votes are ready for him to get a second chance.
And to answer the question from our viewer from Star, the Star mayor's race right now, Trevor Chadwick actually leads Chad Bell. Chad Bell, the incumbent there in Star, he is the mayor. He leads him 302 to 66. Again, these are the too early to tell numbers.
What about the fire protection bond there in Star? I know that really generated a lot of early voting turnout for Star, for that area. Any results coming in on that?
You know, I think these bonds, for the most part, Kim, I'm not seeing a lot of returns on them so far.
That's weird that we're seeing results coming in for the candidates, but not necessarily for the initiatives and for the bonds. But we'll obviously keep monitoring that to see if that starts updating. But
and we should also mention, you guys, that what Joe is doing right now, you can do at home right now very easily. I noticed we've gotten a couple of comments. Will you be covering Mountain Home? Sarah Martin is watching coverage from Texas, missing her hometown. Any ideas on Wilder? Jada Lynn is asking. So again, if we don't hit on the dozens and dozens of items that you're interested in at home in our broadcast tonight, it's very easy for you to go online at ktvb.com and punch up the races and the issues that you're looking for. You can find those right at your fingertips.
All right, Joe, Madeline Cox is watching from California. She wants to know what the Nampa results are like.
Okay.
Can we get on that?
Let's take a look.
Thanks for watching, Madeline.
I was actually just also checking out Washington County's numbers for those asking. Those are not in yet, so we'll be keeping an eye on that.
Okay.
But Nampa, some numbers are in. Again, these are preliminary numbers, so do not take these too seriously. These are the too early to tell numbers. You can see here, Nampa City Council, seat 4. Sandy Levy is winning there 56%. You can see in seat 6, we have Jacob Bauer, who's up by about, let's see there, a few hundred votes, 60 to 40% there over Scott Glover. And then this is actually a very important thing to some people in Canyon County. The Nampa School District levy, right now, it is not passing. 64% of the voters.
Yeah, again, it needs a supermajority to pass.
That's right, 2/3. So right now we're keeping an eye on this one, but an overwhelming majority so far is voting no. But it is 8:49 local time right now. Again, these numbers are too early to tell. I really think the thick of the numbers that will basically tell us who the winners are, those will be coming in about our 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock hour, so we'll be keeping a close eye. But I know a lot of people just tuning in right now, Mark and Kim, they want to know about that Boise mayor race. So let's take a real quick look here and see if it's updated at all. It looks like these are about the same numbers that we just saw about 10 minutes ago and we kicked this off. But you can see there, Lauren McLean is actually in the lead there of Dave Beater. We're going to make sure that we have everything right there. Yep, this is it. This is fully refreshed right now. So Lauren McLean inching ahead of Mayor Beater. Again, the disclaimer that I'll say 100 times before we get to the end of this. These are too early to tell numbers, but it is an indication on how everything is polling. And I do also want to show how visually it looks like. Our friends over at Ada County Elections, they work hard and they actually have all the data, so they put into a useful way to really digest this information. You can see here.
So what are we looking at on that map, Joe?
So
for
right
someone
here,
who's geographically challenged.
Yeah. Well, believe it or not, this is where you live if you're in Boise. This is the city of Boise that you see lit up here. You can see that white sliver in there. That'll be Garden City. But you can see that the blue in the map, those are people that are voting for Lauren McLean. Again, we're talking on the right side of your screen, just over the Channel 7 logo right there.
Dominating the north end, you can see, and the south end, and Dave Beater, the southeast.
That's right. And you know, I'd seen this on social media that some of our viewers are making this a north end versus the bench election. And it's interesting to see when you're looking at the data here, you can definitely see different regions of this map are definitely loyal to one candidate over the other.
So what is the bench doing, again, for someone who's geographically challenged looking at that map?
Well, for now, it's too early to tell. What color do you see on the bench, Kim?
It looks all blue to me.
Okay, so that's what I'm seeing too. So Lauren McLean is in the lead here.
Little tiny pockets there of orange you can see right in the middle of the bench.
Right there.
And then just a little to the north and west. But that is really fascinating.
Well, you can see here at precinct 1707, which is really in the heart there, you can see that Mayor Beater is narrowly in front. Now, when I mean narrowly in front, though, I'm talking he's winning in that precinct 24 to 22 votes. This one, he's losing by 16 votes at precinct 1709. We don't want to get too hyper focused here on how individual precincts are looking, but you can definitely see there's a divide. It's also interesting to see up in the northern part of Boise, Adriel Martinez, he has that section wrapped up there. He is polling rather low right now with 72 total votes. It's 1% essentially, but it's really cool that we have the data now, Mark and Kim. I mean, you can just see where are your neighbors voting? Right. Who are they voting for?
We've got a question from Keone, and I only know the answer to this because of all those years that we got to stand or just sit side by side with the good Dr. Jim Weatherby in an off-election year, meaning a non-presidential election when typically voter turnout runs in the teens when it comes to percentages. She said, of the total population of Boise, do we know an approximate estimate of the percentage of residents who actually vote? We don't know. I can tell you a short answer. We don't know right now. But typically on these off-election years, it runs in the 12 to 13 to 14%.
Usually around 20%. I heard Phil McGrain say on Boise Public Radio. He was saying this election could be up to 30%, but not likely higher than that, again, because of it being an off-year election, a municipal election. But again, you've got a contest for once on your hands when it comes to the City of Trees. It's been a long time since residents have seen a race like this. I mentioned earlier, formidable opponents for the incumbent Boise Mayor Dave Beater. You have the president of the city council that he appointed. You have his predecessor. You have the president, the commission president of ACHD. 7 total in the race. So you and I were talking a while ago. I said, I bet it's going to be a late night. You said you didn't think so. You thought, and we're used to the statewide elections having to wait till 9 o'clock for our friends up north in that time zone for those results to come in. But polls are closed. We're done. So now we're simply waiting. I think it's going to be, we're going to get the results sooner than we think.
Do you really?
And I think it's going to be a runoff.
Do you? Well, yes.
If I were a betting woman.
I think that is the popular thought, and I agree with you. I think there'll be a runoff in Boise, and I believe in Eagle as well for their mayor's race. But I don't think this is going to be called until after midnight.
You live in Garden City, technically. I'm a Boise resident. I had a lot of people knocking on my door the past couple of weeks, a lot of flyers left, even had text messages saying, we stopped by your house, you didn't answer, please get out and vote. We saw Chief Doan on social media, Boise Fire Chief Doan, getting out the vote campaign. Of course, his firefighters union throwing their support to Boise Mayor Dave Beater, the police union throwing their support. So it's been interesting interesting to see kind of the get out the vote, grassroots campaign, if you will.
I ran into a newcomer who had just moved to Garden City, went to their polling place to vote, and was really disappointed they couldn't vote on the library vote or the baseball vote, and said, wait a second, I only have 2 votes to cast in Garden City on the Fire Commission and City Council. So yeah, that was really a hot topic, and that really drove
a lot of people to the polls.
A lot of people to the polls.
And maybe that's what Phil McGrain was thinking when he said it could be up to 30%. And of course, the language on the ballot of those initiatives, why can't it just be, yes, I want it, no, I don't? But that's, Joe, I pitched that idea for you to look at. I said, who writes the language on these ballots? And it needs to be in layman's terms, by golly.
Well, as you guys were talking about this, we actually had some numbers come in.
All right, tell us what's going on.
We'll talk about the numbers and then we can explain what
it's counterintuitive. No means yes and yes means no.
So these propositions, proposition for the library has yes for 64%. We'll explain
meaning they want to vote.
Means they want to vote to have a future vote, essentially.
To have a vote.
And then the same with the stadium, where you have a majority saying yes. So, okay, let's get into this once and for all here. So what you're voting on here for Propositions 1 and 2 in Boise.
It's too late, Joe. The polls have closed.
I know, but we're still telling people now that they know, that they cast their vote.
Oh, that's not how I wanted to vote.
And then you had to turn the ballot over to find the other proposition.
And some people were saying, hey, I didn't know it was double-sided. I did have my poll worker say it's double-sided. Be sure. Joe, I keep interrupting you.
No, that's okay. We're on Facebook, Kim. Okay. This is the one time where you can get away with this. No, we have unlimited time, right? It's on the internet.
I'm sorry, dive deeper into
Anyways, well, long story short, we were talking about this afternoon. You're voting on how you want to see the city of Boise do their business. Whether that means you want to stay out of it with the no vote, meaning that you trust the city council and the mayor to do what they're doing. If you voted yes, basically you're voting that you'll possibly have a future vote on this. The problem is it can be very confusing for a lot of people, and we're going to have a lot of questions tomorrow no matter what the result is. But essentially, you're voting on how you want the city of Boise to do their business.
So Merritt Welker, it can't be in layman's terms. It needs to be in legal, definable, and defensible wording. I get that.
There's your answer
I
then.
Get that.
Right.
Thank you.
I don't know why you asked me, Kim. You could ask the viewers. I'll answer right away.
Remember the do you love me, yes or no? Check yes or no. Why can't it be that?
That's why we dumbed it down to the vote to have a vote.
Right.
Do you want to vote on a potential stadium project? Do you want to vote on a potential library project that could cost in the $80 to $90 million range? This is what these propositions were for.
Here's a good question for you guys. Nancy Lavin-Bax says, will early voting absentee ballots be available for a runoff election? Joe, do you know that in your reporting? Do you remember?
I'm under the impression, yes. I'm under the impression in Boise that there is mail-in ballot and there is absentee ballot. I could be wrong, and I'm going to check on this in just a second. I have my notes in front of me. But essentially what we're going to do, if there was a runoff a month from now, essentially it'll be just exactly what we're doing tonight, but we'll do it a month from now.
And again, not to belabor the point, but a runoff would include the top 2 vote-getting candidates head-to-head in a month-long campaign, voting on the Tuesday after Thanksgiving as the holiday season is well underway, and at an expense to the taxpayers that some projections are in the 6 figures.
But we don't know that for sure.
We don't know that for sure.
Because there are a couple questions on Facebook.
$70,000 is what it cost back in 2003 to have a city council runoff election. You would have to assume this would cost more than that.
That runoff election would be December 3rd.
Right, the Tuesday after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So lots to be decided. So we appreciate you guys are asking us questions. Mike Barker, you guys have any information on the Fruitland bond election tonight? We'll let you get to that.
Take a look to the Fruitland bond.
Vicki Harden is asking for updates in Nampa. So we're getting a lot of you interactive tonight, checking in with us. Normally at this hour, this is when Rick Lance is doing his Facebook Live in front of a cast of thousands. So we appreciate that you guys allowing us to take his time slot so we can bring you the results of the election.
Were your polls busy where you voted? What time did you vote?
No. There were a slight trickle because there were 2 things on the ballot.
Yeah. Oh, you're Garden City.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So we were. I snuck in at like 7:43 right before I came back into work, and there were still a small handful of people coming in. I was a little disappointed when I wasn't like looking to see, but you know they scroll through to find your name, and you could see who all had signed in that they had voted.
Right.
I was a little disappointed. I was hoping you'd see more signatures, meaning you know a better turnout at that location. But
yeah.
I do
Wait
think.
till next year on this night.
Oh gosh.
Can you believe what it's going to look like 1 year from tonight?
Yeah.
I mean, I can already tell
Let's
you.
stick to local, people. Let's stick to local right now.
Locally as well. I can tell you already, every national broadcast will call next, a year from today, the biggest election in the history of elections.
I don't think you're wrong. I really don't.
Well, we'll start doing our homework for that tomorrow.
And we're also, we'll have some local federal positions that'll be on the ballot as well. But nothing out of Fruitland yet, Joe?
Yeah, everything in Payette County right now looks like it hasn't quite come in yet. I'm looking through to see if they're manually updating it on their website before we get it digitalized. But for now, it looks like the results in Payette County are not yet in. But there is a lot going on in Payette, including the Fruitland City Council, as well as the fire station bond.
Hey, you and I also talked about the
Mayor.
Valley County situation.
Oh, yes.
We've got Cindy Schrader asking how that's going in Valley County, and that was a story that we hit pretty hard, 6 or 8 months ago?
Yeah, this Cascade local option tax, again, there's no 0% reporting right now, so we don't have any votes in for the Cascade local option tax, but essentially what it's doing is it's a 1% tax addition to raise funds, and Cascade can do with it what they want.
Right.
This is not a property tax. It's not a resort tax. It's not a specialty tax. This is the local option 1% tax. It's pretty standard to see these on the ballots from time to time. I believe this one would go for 2 years at 1% to raise some funds for Cascade. It is interesting, though, to see how the people of Cascade will actually vote, because I know that a lot of people across the state of Idaho, they like to go and enjoy Cascade, and they like to see how beautiful it is, but it's interesting if the people of Cascade themselves will vote to give themselves an extra tax.
Right. We're asking, there's some folks here from Mountain Home that are asking to check out results out of the city by the Air Force Base.
Okay, we do know that one, Mountain Home. That is Elmore County, so looking at Ada County is not going to really help me at all. Again, as Mark pointed out, anybody at home can do this, and this is really fun to actually go through and look at all the results in real time. And it looks like our friends out in Elmore County have not yet gotten their information in. The races we are watching, though, are for Mountain Home City Council as well as Mountain Home Mayor. Again, too early to tell right now. By too early to tell, I mean 0% reporting, so we can't tell you anything.
that's early.
Christine Lester Forbes talking about just the turnout. She said she went in at 4 and there were only a couple there, in and out in 5 minutes. So
yeah. If you know who you're looking at, if you've done your homework first, it doesn't take long to fill out this ballot.
No. Doesn't it take you back to your high school days, though, where you just want to make sure? The perfectionist in me is like, don't go outside that box, Kim, because you like want to make sure your vote is counted, right? And so I like to get in there and I like to make sure it's all filled in perfectly.
No hanging chads for Kim.
You like to use
no hanging chads for me. I will not. Oh my goodness, no.
I don't think they count votes like that though anymore, do they?
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Not even in Florida.
Do you remember?
No.
Do you remember that, Mark?
Yeah, I do. I do remember that. And so does Al Gore.
Okay, so we have the latest numbers just coming in from Ada County. I'm actually just going to read these out of my notes. They came in about a minute ago, so here's what we have for you. It looks like, in terms of total votes, Laura McLean still leads Dave Beater 42.5% to 35.1%. This is with 9,000 votes cast, 6 of 149 precincts reporting. Again, though, we can report to you that Lauren McLean, again, it's very early. She is maintaining a very small lead. I can tell you also that the numbers you see on your screen are about to update, but they do reflect the current standings, if you will, that Lauren McLean does lead Dave Beater.
So, Joe, we're telling our viewers that you guys can go to KTVB.com to see these results come in as well on your laptops. your mobile devices. Do we need to hit refresh though each time, Joe? What do we need to tell people about that, or does it automatically update?
That is a good question. I've been automatically updating myself.
Okay.
I'm not aware if it's going to self-update or not. I will ask our tech team in the back during the break.
Because I still see that only 1% is reporting, so something must be not quite right on mine.
So it looks like the paper data comes in a little bit quicker from Ada County than it comes into our system.
Okay. We are also scrolling at the bottom of the screen, as you can see right there, and we will be doing that all night long, even on the network, on Channel 7, and we'll continue to do that on the news at 10. These numbers are coming directly from the election centrals, both in Ada and Canyon and all the counties around the area. So these numbers will be the most accurate that you can find scrolling across the bottom of the screen.
Joe, some of the people are saying, hey, use a bolder font and turn down the background brightness. I don't know if that's something we can work on while we're live on Facebook Live, but we'll take those comments into consideration and try to work on that for you.
We're also taking it full screen, as you noticed, so that shouldn't be an issue. The only time, like there, obviously,
there you go.
That looks great.
And this is actually just been updated. You actually see it on the top right of your screen. This came in at 9:01, which was now about 4 minutes ago. And you can see here with 7% of the turnout, actually, I wonder, well, 7% of the turnout, you can see that we have Lauren McLean ahead of Dave Beater by about, I guess that's 7%. Now we're seeing the Election Day ballots coming in. So you see 856 Election Day ballots have been counted. This also includes the absentee mail and the early voting. So a total of 7% turnout with about a little more than 9,000 people in. You can see here Lauren McLean with an early lead over Mayor Beater. If we don't have any idea if this would happen this way, but if the results stayed the same and became final, this would prove to be a runoff.
So talking about absentee voting versus early voting, Phil McGrain telling Boise Public Radio that absentee voting was down from 4 years ago, but that early voting is up from 4 years ago. No idea the reasoning behind that, but just for what it's worth, there you go. What about Star? I still want to check in on that fire, because I know we reported on that and the need for the fire protection services out there. I think that drove a lot of people to the polls. And that, do we have any updates on the Star bond?
Let's take a look down to Star. See, we have everything in here.
You getting dizzy over there?
Not yet, not yet. I really hope people can see this at home, though. Okay, here we go. Star City Council. We have those starting to come in here. Again, this is early preliminary numbers. Kevin Nielsen leads in seat 1 of Star City Council. Looks like we have 183 to 183 for seat 2 of Star City Council. It's a 50% tie right there. This is what Kim was just talking about right now, the Star Fire District bond. 79% say yes so far. Again, that's 312 people saying that as opposed to 85. And we also have the Star Fire Protection District Commissioner coming in. Tim Murray leads there. And we've got some of the other stuff that I know the big question is Star Mayor. And Chad Bell, who is the current mayor of Star, he trails by a large percentage to Trevor Chadwick. Trevor Chadwick challenging Bell here in this race. We'll see if this stays like this. Again, there's only 2 of them, so we would never come down to a runoff in this situation specifically. But the mayor does trail there in Star.
Noticed a couple of you have inquired about party lines and how come there's not an R or a D behind these candidates. These city elections are nonpartisan. Always have been, hopefully always will be. They don't run on a platform depending on a red or a blue party, and that is across the board for all of these. So you will not see candidates, even though John McGee obviously was a Republican when he was in the Idaho State Senate. He is running nonpartisan.
And a lot of the candidates have made no bones about it. Lauren McLean saying, traditionally vote Democrat. Rebecca Arnold calling herself fiscal conservative, aligning herself more with the Republican Party tendencies.
Dave Beater, a Democrat.
Yeah, so I mean, they don't try to hide it by any means. Joe, Lisa Thompson, maybe she's just joining us, but she's saying on Facebook, a question from her, how close do votes need to be for a runoff? So maybe we need to hit that again for people just joining us.
Yeah.
The answer is it depends on the city, correct?
It does. And the 2 cities that we're really highlighting tonight are Eagle and Boise. And in those two places tonight, the mayor's race really is on tap for the possibility of having that runoff. And what you need to win is 50% of the vote, a majority, plus one. If someone wins, let's say they get 49%, that's not enough. You need to have 50% plus one. If nobody gets 50% plus one, and there's a crowded field, like for example in Boise, there'll be a runoff between the top two candidates. Hypothetically, if you had a three-way tie, or you had two candidates that are tied with the same amount of votes, we'd have to go to a tiebreaker there, and that's a situation that I don't think we're going to prepare for just yet. But yes, that's what you need. You need 50% plus one in Boise and in Eagle.
What about for the city of Meridian?
For the city of Meridian, they don't do a runoff. So whoever has the most votes at the end of the night, you can see this is the field for Meridian mayor. Whoever has the most votes at the end of the night or early tomorrow morning will assumably be the mayor-elect, unless there was a dead tie between two or three candidates. Then we'd have a tiebreaker, not a runoff.
Back to Eagle. Interesting that Jason Pierce, who got the $20,000 campaign contribution in a PAC form from Avamore, because they were upset that they didn't feel like the Eagle mayor was doing enough for development in that area. He has the lead right now, Joe. In Eagle, I see on our website, he has 57% of the vote to Stan Ridgway, the incumbent's 30%. Also in there is Christopher Haddon, who's a stay-at-home dad. But Jason Pierce, a member of the Park and Pathways Commission, P&Z, City Council. So this is really going to be interesting to see how this goes.
Yeah, and I've got that data actually pulled up here on the big screen if we want to go to it. If you see on the right side of your screen, that would be the east side of Eagle for the most part. You have Jason Pierce in the orange. Stan Ridgway, he's in that very small sliver there, that really small yellow sliver there. I'm kind of highlighting it there. That's Stan Ridgway. Now, more people live there than in a lot of the county.
Right.
So that's why at that small spot, he's still polling at 30.2%. You can see, though, in West Eagle, specifically Northwest Eagle, you have Christopher Haddon, who's got 173 votes.
And again, if these numbers stay like this, and there's no reason to think that they will, because 1% is reporting, but if those numbers stayed like that, there would be no runoff.
That's right, because if Jason Pierce continues this way, he would win the election with more than 50%, with 57.2%, so we would call that a clean win tonight, and Jason Pierce would be the mayor of Eagle. Again, this is with 7.7% of the vote coming in, last updated about 10 minutes. Looks like the Eagle votes, this doesn't count any of the election day ballots, so these are all the absentee mail and the early voting numbers for you right here. Again, 7.7% turnout. We'll update it just to see if anything changes, and it looks like it did not.
I'm always wondering right now what the candidates are doing, where they're at, who they're with, what they're feeling like. I just was checking Twitter, some of my social accounts to see, has Lauren McLean posted anything, Dave Beater? Nobody's posted anything recently, so I don't know. Maybe they're sitting and watching us. Maybe they're sitting going, I don't know, you know.
It could be. We know Dave Beater's at the Bass Block.
Yes, I was going to say we should mention that we have reached out to the candidates.
And Lauren McLean is at her office in downtown Boise, and so tonight on the News at 10, we're going to set the stage for you right now as we start to wind down here on our Facebook Live. And once again, thanks for tuning in. We're going to continue to keep our sleeves rolled up, and we're going to be back here for the News at 10.
I didn't know it was dress down election day. I would have worn my jeans.
It is.
So you rolled up your sleeves too,
have.
Kim. Your sleeves are rolled up.
Yeah. But Joey Prechtel is going to hit both the McLean and the Beater parties tonight. We're also going to take you live to Canyon County. Our Misty Inglet is down there. Joe is going to keep on working the big board with the big numbers.
And Misty's also kind of back and forth between Canyon County and Meridian.
Right.
So we've got Meridian covered as well, because we know a lot of you interested in that.
But again, for the races that you want to see, you can go to KTVB.com right now. And the easiest way to do this is just to hit the all. That's what I like to do. Joey, can you show how to do that? Because I think that's really important. Hit the all, and then you can see all of the races, and it's all in alphabetical order. So you can scroll to your city. There's the Bellevue Alderman. You see the Blaine County School District. Keep going all the way down to Wilder. You're going to have to scroll all the way down to Wilder for that. But again, this is a great way for you to have a hands-on election night experience.
But to hear from the candidates themselves, to get that on-the-ground reaction, if you will, you want to make sure to tune in to KTVB's News at 10. As Mark mentioned, we'll have our crew out and about in the fields to bring you more than what you will just get here on your computer screens with the results coming in.
We've got crews in the field. We've got Kim Fields on the set. See what I did there? We got your fields covered.
It's pretty good. Do you want to take a look one more time at the results before we step aside?
What's that?
Do you want to take one more look? Okay, let's do
Okay.
one more look. Why not? Okay, we'll kind of run down these big races here. Again, if you're just joining us, the too early to tell numbers with 7% of the vote counted in the Boise mayor race. Lauren McLean leads early over Dave Beater. It's narrow. It's only 7% and it's very early. Eagle City Mayor, another one we're keeping an eye on. Jason Pierce ahead of the mayor. Stan Ridgway there. And I know we're going to see. Hold on. Looks like I got it. There you go. Meridian City Mayor. Come on. There we go. Robert Simpson ahead of Joe Palmer. 50.2% over 28%. And before we wrap this up, we'll take a look at the Star City Mayor as well. Again, Chad Bell trailing there behind Chadwick. And again, actually, let's take a look at the props real quickly because I was looking at this while Mark and Kim were talking. If you look at the propositions 1 and 2, the library and the stadium, you can see again a clear color divide on one part of Boise that is going to remain yellow right there. And those are voting no on the stadium and the library. Mark and Kim, though, we've got a lot to take on here tonight. And we're excited for everyone to join us at 10 o'clock.
I just saw my old buddy Levi Madrietta from Weezer is watching. Hey, Levi, I should let you know, Weezer Mayor Alex Chavarria, Randy Hibbard, Dan Randleman, no numbers in yet. So get those Wolverines going.
Okay. All right. With that, I think we're going to say goodbye on Facebook Live. Appreciate all of those watching and asking your questions. This has been fun, very interactive. And again, we have much more election night coverage coming up straight ahead on KTVB's News at 10. We'll see you then.